Good morning, everyone. This is the SC Kicker and the KO Ninja coming at you. Hope everyone's having a good morning and getting ready to kick it off here with the episode 3 today of the 21 Deadliest Martial Arts. KO, how you doing this morning?
Hey, doing great. Doing great. Looking forward to getting into some more martial arts here, and some more deadly martial arts, that is. But yeah, everything's going well. How about yourself?
Doing good. Ready to rock and roll today. So it's actually been a busy couple weeks. So got a lot of stuff just going on at the academies, and man, it's been fun, but just busy. So it just never stops, it seems like.
That is true. That is true. It's absolutely crazy.
I
Yeah,
guess
usually
everything,
October, November are
yeah, it's about the same for you guys, isn't it? November, October, November.
yeah, December will be a little less crazy, but October, November are definitely insane. So, yep, yep.
So where did we leave off there last week with martial arts? Did we finish off with, was it Eskrima or I can't remember?
Let's pull up the list here and see where we're at. There we go. Yeah, we got all the way through Eskrima down here, so we're gonna start today. We're gonna knock out the next five, talking about Aikido, Kisi or Kaisi fighting method, Kung Fu, Judo, and Line, or I guess that's how you say it, Line. Um, so yeah, let me jump down here to Aikido. Get rid of some of these ads. And let's see. Yep, here we go. Yeah, so what's your experience with Aikido?
Experience with Aikido. I really don't have a lot. So I within my our niche training, we've done a lot of like wrist locking, things like that, joint manipulation. But working specifically with Aikido, I don't have a lot of experience actually. When I hear Aikido, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is back in the early 90s is the Steven Seagal movies. I think he did some Aikido. So I
That's the
remember
first thing I
the
thought of, and then and that's
Hakamas and joint
exactly
locks is what I think of. So
yeah, that's exactly what I think of, and that's exactly who they bring up here, Steven Seagal. Um, and so, what's your opinion of Steven Seagal? What have you thought of him the last few years? Maybe in his movies over the decades. What's been your
yeah, there's so much
thought of him?
mixed review with him. So many stories, you don't know what's true and what's not. I've never met the guy personally at tournaments or anything. He was never at any of the tournaments. Him and I think the other guy I could think of from that same era was Jean-Claude Van Damme. So those two were in a lot of movies. They were really in the the forefront there. And I've seen every one of their movies, probably twice as a kid at the movie theater. And we would, if we weren't kicking and punching, we were at the movie theaters watching other people kick and punch. So his movies, I thought the movies were all pretty cool, in the day. And I don't know anything about the guy personally. So, like I said, you do hear a lot of stuff that says he hasn't trained. I would imagine that he's trained to some level. He's supposed to be pretty high level and have trained with some good people. I don't know. uh, You watch him in some of these TV programs, and there are stories about him not actually going into places and actually doing what he says he does. But that's pretty prominent in most martial arts. A lot of the actors, they actually have stunt doubles that come in for them. I know even with what was the more recent movie, the remake of Karate Kid, where it wasn't really karate, it was wushu they were doing with Jaden Smith, Will Smith's
Hmm.
son. And, Will Smith's son actually did take Taekwondo. And even for his roles, he had a stunt double that came in. They wouldn't admit it, but I know personally through friends in the industry that have been around the schools where they trained, and there were definitely stunt doubles that worked in. So I think that's pretty prevalent in the martial arts movie industry, which makes sense. They don't want the prime actors to get hurt, and if there are stunts people that are better, they should fill those roles probably.
Um, yeah, so I liked Steven Seagal's movies as well. I haven't seen all of them for sure, but the last few years has been interesting to watch him because he's still teaching seminars and stuff, and uh, I'll just leave it at it's interesting to watch. Honestly, I don't want to badmouth anybody or martial arts or um, you know, but and he's done a lot for the arts and movies and bringing um, views and eyes to martial arts. But yeah, the last few years have just been entertaining,
Yeah.
interesting to
It,
watch him what he's doing. So
I've seen some recent stuff, and you don't know if it's them just kind of playing around though, because they showed him in doing like a demo with some guys, and he's definitely put on a little bit of weight, that he's gotten older and stuff, which is normal, progression in life, I guess. But
yeah,
when he was slapping around doing the blocks, it kind of looked like he was swatting flies. But if you look, they're both kind of laughing. So is it where they were just kind of playing a little bit?
yeah.
So I don't know. He's the stuff that I seen him do, back in the days, and other footage I've seen. He's done some really good stuff. So I watched all of his movies, and like you said, he brought martial arts to the forefront and did so many good things for martial arts. So
I respect all those guys that even before I was born, and I mean, like, as I was a kid, everybody bringing eyes and views to martial arts because I mean that's why I have a career today is because of the popularity that martial arts has grown and gained over the years. So, side topic: have you heard the rumor that Jean-Claude Van Damme like had a surgery to like snip the tendons in his legs so he could kick higher?
yes, I had heard that. Man, this is going way back. And, I was that kid that when I would see stuff on TV in martial arts, I had never had good flexibility. So I wanted to have that flexibility because you
Yep,
see him do these kicks and he's, kicking sky high and he's doing splits in between chairs.
yep.
So I had all kind of concoctions and things built in my garage to do these crazy stretches. So I had ropes coming off my parents' rafters in the garage and trying to
Oh
stretch,
gosh.
and so many injuries. Back in the day when they first came out with those stretching machines, where you sit in the contraption and you crank it and crank it and crank it, and it puts you into that position. I had went out and I spent a ton of money on one of those back in the day. They were pretty expensive, and I cranked and cranked and cranked and heard a pop. And man, I was injured for a while. I tore a groin muscle really good. I was probably like 18, 17, and yeah, so going back to what you asked though, the I did hear that same thing that he was snipped and that wasn't naturally earned.
Do you think that's true, or what do you think? I have no clue. That's just what I've heard.
I don't know. It's a good question because if you look at his history, he did martial arts, but he also did a lot of dancing,
Hmm.
and dancers typically have pretty damn good flexibility from what
Yeah.
I've seen. So
Yep.
it could be 100% legit. Maybe it's some, naysayer that's jealous, that they can't do the split and they're just dragging on Van Damme. I got to tell you, he's of all of the martial artists I have watched, he's one of the prettiest kickers in the world. I mean, he's got
Oh,
some
he's got some.
beautiful kicks. I mean, even if you watch him now, he can still get out there. I've seen him in like dress pants, shirt and tie, and he's got like dress shoes on, and he's doing kicks, above the 6 foot level. That's pretty good because he's up there in age. He's older than me, and for him to be doing that in a setting with shoes on, I would never think of like going to a wedding and wearing my suit and tie and shoes and trying to do a kick like that without biting the dust. But Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I thought he was an unbelievably beautiful kicker. Back in the day, he has held some titles too in full contact fighting in different arenas. So he's legit as far as that
Yeah.
goes. I don't know about the snipping of the tendons or whatever, if that's true or not.
Well, if anybody knows in chat, let us know. And it's funny you bring up the stretching machine. You know, that's how I had my first hip surgery was because of those stretching machines. And same story. I was wanting to I always want to be flexible. I never has been a strength of mine at all, and I was in it and kept cranking it, heard the pop, finished my workout. By the time I got home, I couldn't get out of my car and I tore the labrum inside the hip socket.
I don't think I
Um,
realized that. That's
it was
crazy.
yeah, that's where all my that's where all my hip injuries started was on those stretching machines.
It's interesting. That's probably where all of mine happened. That's why I had the double hip replacement.
No,
Makes
so
sense now. It's all coming back.
I do not recommend those stretching machines. I've not heard any good stories from them, to be honest.
No, it's because you're
Um,
forcing the muscles, and then if you're doing that and your muscles are not warmed up on top of it, 100 times
yeah, and
worse.
well, and so I had a bone spur on the femur, and so I was basically forcing um, uh, the bone to rub against the labrum in the hip socket by pressing it that far, and yeah.
So
So anyway.
Nathan in chat says he did a movie with him, Bloodsport. Oh, awesome! That was a great movie.
Oh
Said
wow.
he doesn't know about the tendons, so very interesting. Yeah, and I
Uh,
don't know, Nathan. I'm not sure how old you are. Probably at my age bracket if you were in movies with him. So yeah,
and
the
you were
rumors
in
were out there.
You were in Bloodsport, Nathan. That's
Pretty.
killer. That's a iconic movie right there. That's fantastic. Well, we haven't really talked about Aikido. We've talked about people and stuff. So um, it originated in Japan. Um, let's see. Aikido is known for its emphasis on defense rather than offense. I've seen a lot of joint locks with that. Um, let's see. Yeah, joint locks and throws, using the attacker's momentum against them. um, yeah, that's nothing too crazy. Yeah, that's what I think of when I think Aikido. I think of joint locks, wrist locks, throws, takedowns, some basic strikes, and the boken, right? Or would that be the weapon they typically use, or am I wrong on that?
I believe so.
Yeah. So uh, pretty pretty interesting. Let's see. All right, the Kaizi or Kizi, I think Kaizi. Fighting method, the KFM. Have you ever heard of this?
I have heard of KFM. I know nothing about it to be honest. Let's see, it's a blend of martial arts techniques: boxing, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Filipino martial arts, Kali. It's got a lot of stuff going on, so it looks like it's specifically for self-defense, maybe.
Yeah, it focuses on improving practical defense through both physical and mental conditioning. The system uses joint manipulation, locks, pressure point strikes, and throws to subdue attackers with minimum force. Also emphasizes keeping a low profile stance, which allows for quick movement while maintaining balance, allowing users to remain agile under intense conditions. Let's see. They use empty hand strikes and kicks. An effective way to defend against multiple attackers. All right. It doesn't really go, I mean, doesn't really give too much information there, to be honest. Does it even say where it was developed? Developed in Spain.
Spain.
Okay. Interesting. I have not heard of this one.
Now, there's another
It
art that's practiced in Spain too. I can't remember the name of it.
Interesting combo. I mean, boxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, kali, um, all the stuff, a lot of the stuff that we do.
Yeah, pretty much.
With Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I've enjoyed a lot of boxing over the years. And you've got a lot of a ton of Kali experience. So
I think the only one I haven't really done a whole lot of, or any of, to be honest, is judo. Because I had some good friends that were really good boxers, so we used to spar a lot, kickboxing against boxing back in the day, and so I had a little bit of experience there.
I've done a little bit of judo. Um, I've taken some classes and trained with some judo practitioners. Um, I've judo is amazing. I absolutely love watching it in the Olympics. I do not like doing judo. The throws are brutal, and
When did
throws are
that art
never
start? I think Nathan in chat had a question about the KMF when that started, because it's basically another MMA, mixed martial arts, which when you hear MMA nowadays, it can mean a lot of different things. I know I have students that come into the academies nowadays, and when they say they've done mixed martial arts, you never know like what they've trained. I've had students come in, and when they say MMA, I'm thinking, okay, they've done a little bit of jujitsu, they've done some takedowns, some striking, but then it turns out that they've done like trick kicking, what's that other stuff called? The like Mike Chat
XMA or
teaches XMA. Yeah, a lot
yeah.
of it is more extreme martial arts that has no purpose for self defense really, but it looks cool.
The history of the Kaisi fighting method. I'm looking up a different article here. The combat system was developed by Justo Dieguez and Andy Norman and was introduced in 1980.
Oh wow,
Its roots are in Spain, where they grew up on the streets in a town where he had to learn to defend. So obviously, I'm reading off of an article here. So the validity of this is, um, you know, uh, to be questioned. Um, but it says 1980, which is
that's like
like
back in my heyday. So I've never
like
really
not
heard of it. I'm not too familiar with it.
not very old. I mean, as far as martial arts goes, that's relatively new. Um,
Nathan, had you heard of this Kaisi fighting method before? Being that you were doing that movie with Bloodsport, they had just about every martial art in that movie. Have you heard of this one?
yeah, that was interesting. It said that it has been used in the uh, films such as Batman and Tom Cruise's shoot, what did it just say? Mission Impossible, or let me see, hang on. Christian Bale and Batman. Oh,
Batman.
and Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher?
Um,
I don't think I've
yeah,
ever seen that.
no, the Tom Cruise movie.
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Um, yeah, some
Yeah,
decent
Nathan
martial
said
arts in
he's
there.
never heard of it neither.
And I mean, it's interesting that they say that this is the fighting style that was used in those movies. I mean, but it that's hard to tell because I mean, it's a combo of boxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, kali. I mean, um, unless they brought in specifically artists from that style in Spain.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, interesting. Learning new stuff this morning.
It's interesting. Back in the day, I guess, I mean, we knew of the basic styles, and even, I competed in the open circuit for years, and you would have like the hard and soft divisions. So sometimes you didn't necessarily know what, what art that the competitors actually trained in. It was considered hard and soft. So it was a
Yeah.
little bit different.
Moving on to Kung Fu is a martial art developed in ancient China consisting of various physical and mental disciplines. It has become popular worldwide for its unique fighting techniques, powerful strikes, and striking visualization exercises. Incorporates both hard and soft styles, like we were just talking. Let's see, circular movements make it particularly effective against multiple opponents, while its focus on balance makes it suitable for ground fighting as well. Ground fight, that's interesting. I've never correlated kung fu with ground fighting. Um,
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've seen some with like drop spinning kicks and different things, but not typically ground fighting. Not in the styles that I studied. I studied in Hungar Kung Fu, which was a southern style, and it is known for very circular flowing blocks, hard strikes.
Yep.
Actually, the blocking was almost like being hit. The way that we were trained with Grandmaster Wong. I love the Kung Fu arts. That's the first art that I actually trained in was Hung Gar, and I really enjoyed it. We had an unbelievable instructor. He was from Toisan, and
Mm.
I ended up switching when he passed away. He was the only one that was really teaching the style, and his son got into other things and didn't end up teaching. And he was a really great martial artist too. He just moved on to other things and didn't teach martial arts after his dad had passed away. And then
Mm.
the other instructor that we did have had a bad injury in a car accident and didn't teach it well and ended up passing on at a pretty young age. But it was a beautiful art. You know, if you watch like the Shaolin monks and stuff, a lot of the stuff that they do, you know, it's pretty amazing.
I love watching Kung Fu. I've never practiced it myself. I know some people that have. Absolutely, it's a beautiful art, um, and super cool. Nathan says, Dai Tongue. Is that another method of Kung Fu or another style of Kung Fu? Do you know?
I'm not familiar with that one, Dai Tung.
Yeah, I've not heard of that one. Um, Let me see if I can
The
look it up.
arena that I dabbled in was Hungar, very little bit of Tai Chi we had thrown in with our Hungar, and then Toitgar was the other style that our teacher used to teach. And we really, when we learned, because he was like a master in all three of them, we didn't really know because a lot of it was like blended. I wasn't sure which ones were which. The mainstream was the Hungar that we learned, but there was definitely variations of Toitgar and a little bit of Tai Chi as well.
Gotcha. When I type in Dai Tongue, I get a Dai Tongue Chinese restaurant in Texas. That's what it's pulling up on Google. So if you can help
Nathan,
us
is
out,
Dai Tung, is that a Kung Fu? Or did you study that by chance? I'm
or is that
honestly not familiar with this one.
or is that your favorite restaurant? Oh, you said ground fighting. Okay.
We did have so my instructor in kung fu, it was interesting. He owned his school was in Buffalo, and he also owned a buffet Chinese restaurant. So on
Okay.
certain nights, we were required to go and do demonstrations at the restaurant for entertainment, and then he would feed us. So, but we didn't really have a choice of which foods we ate. It was like whatever was there, you know. So we got to try a lot of different stuff. But I always remember those days because we would do the big demo, and you know, I think that was he was the first person I ever had witnessed doing stuff with concrete, you know, breaking concrete and his fingers, you know, it's a different conditioning they do over there in the mainland, but his fingers were conditioned to the point he could actually drill his fingers into bricks, and you would see like the brick break apart and smoke. It was crazy.
That's insane. Um,
Yeah, things
oh,
unless
dang.
you've like seen it, you would never believe. It's crazy.
So you were giving people dinner and a show.
Yeah,
Um,
but we didn't have to cook and we didn't have to like serve food or anything. We were responsible for the martial arts demo. We would demonstrate and then we would get to eat after, which was great because I love Chinese food.
so people were watching, were like boards flying into people's uh tables and meals and
No, so surprising enough, I honestly never did any board breaking at the Kung Fu Academy ever.
Oh, okay. So that
Um,
wasn't really part of your
they,
training?
yeah, they played around the realms of brick. That was it. And there was a lot of like spear demos against bow staff, and you know a lot of the old style training, broadsword against bow staff, and different things like that. But I don't. I honestly don't ever remember breaking a board at the
Huh.
Chinese Academy, and it was different. The times were different, but our school we didn't have padded floors. We walked into our building, and it was a concrete floor, concrete walls. Sometimes we had heat and air. I just remember the winters being really cold. The concrete floor was so cold.
Mm.
in Buffalo. Oh man, it was brutal.
So I typed that in, Nathan Tongue spelled differently, and it did pop up that that is the uh, it's also known as ground tumbling boxing, ground prone fist, or ground fist. So it definitely sounds like that is
Oh, cool.
the ground fighting. So
That's awesome. I
um,
never heard that term.
yeah, so that's cool. And then also, okay, all right, sand shell, kwai jiao are throws, takedowns, and ground fighting. Very cool. Learning from learning from the chat this morning. Cool stuff. All right, so moving on, I think we're doing two more today. So we've got judo, which we were just talking about. Judo is a Japanese martial art and combat sport focused on grappling, throwing, joint manipulation, and ground fighting. Um, use of quick reflexes and forward momentum to throw opponents off balance. Let's see. There it is, getting into the 95% of all martial arts statistics and facts are made up. I this article, this has to be like a automated article or something like that. It's just
Yeah.
interesting. Let's see. It is also one of the sports included in the Olympic Games since 1964, which further demonstrates its effectiveness in combat sports competitions today. I do love watching judo in the Olympics. I think the athletes are incredible. Um, so have you? We had just kind of touched on judo there recently. I can't remember my first judo class ever. I was actually about 8 or 9 years old,
Oh, wow.
and we had a judo expert come in. We had our our taekwondo school, and came in, brought his crash mats, and we just learned how to throw and be thrown, and we were just slamming each other on these crash pads. And I remember, just from coming from a taekwondo background, it was actually just a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. As I got older, though, man, it is a brutal. It's a lot of impact on the body, and I can usually tell a judo player, like, whenever they come out, every finger is like taped. Their hands and wrists are taped because they've been broken through the years. And um, so I usually know if I'm going against somebody, and they come out with their hands all taped up, every finger, every joint. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna get down to the ground as quickly as I can because I'm about to get slammed.
Yeah, I was exposed to judo definitely later in my career. And because of the throws and stuff, and some injuries I've had, I stayed away from it. It just was a little bit too heavy.
Yeah, but I absolutely love it. And the you know famous judo practitioner most recently, um, in my head, comes Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And she really brought that to the UFC, just with some brutal throws. Became champion pretty quick. It was awesome. So um, that's what I can think of off the top of my head. But um, I do think judo is good for self-defense. I mean, you throw somebody even at a 50%, um, you know, power, like, they're falling on concrete. It's game over.
Oh, yeah.
If you're proficient and able to throw people and keep yourself safe, that can absolutely be devastating. If you land on your uh, elbow, your head, your shoulder, I mean, everything's crashing down. Really, really effective for martial arts. Maybe not some of the more sporty throws, on mats, where if you're both crashing down to the mat at the same time, I don't think that's great for self-defense, actually, because the chances of you busting your own head, breaking your arm, wrist,
A rib,
hands,
anything.
you know, ribs, on concrete, on mats, you can get away with it, but concrete, no way.
Yeah, I know some of when I lived in the Georgia area, there was an Olympic training center for judo that was near where we lived. And once in a while I'd walk in and talk to the guy who was teaching there, and they had the floors that they had were amazing. They had like a spring loaded floor, and it was the most comfortable, cushiest floor I was ever on. So I guess that absorbs some of the impact. But like you said, for self defense, if you're on concrete, both people are going to the floor. You're definitely looking at an arm, shoulder, something getting broken. It only takes what 2 pounds of pressure to break a bone, so it doesn't take a whole lot.
No. Well, let's look at our last one for the day. Line. I, I, I'm I'm trying to find the correct pronunciation, and I can't find it. I did find the Wikipedia page um, for it, but again, can't find exactly how to pronounce it. So I'll just go with line for now. But line is a traditional Korean martial art that has been practiced for centuries. This form of martial arts focuses on the use of pressure points and joint manipulation and throws. I've been doing Taekwondo forever, my whole life, and which is a Korean martial art, and I have not heard of this. Um, it is believed to be one of the earliest forms of grappling-based martial arts developed in Korea, which was derived from early Chinese martial arts systems. Line is considered to be an effective style for self-defense due to its ability to quickly and efficiently restrain an attacker with minimal effort from both parties involved. It uses kicking, punching, and striking techniques. Mm, okay, let me look at the wiki page because they have a little bit more information. Officially, the name stands for Linear Involuntary Neural Override Engagement. Okay,
Hmm.
interesting. This is, however, a okay. Um,
Sounds like a military type system.
it is a close quarters combat system derived from various martial arts utilized by the United States Marine Corps between 1989 and 1998, and then from 1998 to 2007 by the U.S. Army Special Forces. It was developed by Ron Donvito of the U.S. Marine Corps.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was designed to be executed within specific and stringent combat-oriented conditions. Um, okay. All techniques must not be vision dominant. Techniques may be executed effectively in low light conditions or other impaired visibility conditions. So I guess it's just talking close quarters, like
Yeah.
really, really close. Um, Usable by the Marine while wearing full combat gear. Let's see.
So when
Proper
it says,
execution.
you said non-visual,
It says all techniques must be non-vision dominant.
so does
So
that mean that there's connection, like you're physically being grabbed or touched where you can feel it, you don't have to see?
so that's my take on that, and I can relate to that because in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a lot of times we actually roll with our eyes closed once you're
Yeah.
connected to the partner, and that it kind of enhances like the feel, and you're learning to feel what your partner's doing, not rely on seeing what they're doing. And actually that helps tremendously in jiu-jitsu. So you could definitely see where that helps. Proper execution of the techniques must cause death to the opponent. So obviously this for the military. It says I'm confused here because this is the same martial art we're talking about. This says is developed by well, it was utilized by the United States Marine Corps.
Hmm.
Does not say where it was developed because our article here says it was developed in Korea.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I need to do a little
Yeah.
bit more research on this one.
Yeah, I've not heard this name before. Not within martial arts realm, anyways.
Yeah, let me try one more search.
I guess there's just so many different styles nowadays.
Yeah, just the United States Marine Corps keeps
Hmm.
popping up.
I'll have to ask one of our Marine students and see if they've heard of that. One of our guys,
It sounds kind of like because what did it stand for again? It stand for
linear.
linear involuntary neural override engagement. So to me that says like linear is like straightforward. Um,
So kind of like a Krav Maga a little bit.
yeah, an involuntary neural override engagement. That does that just mean like automatic reflexes?
Sounds like it, right?
You
You
know,
know,
your
the
like where
neuro.
your body just takes over
Yeah.
from practice and repetition and um, so I don't know. Interesting. Uh, make sure you guys double check some of the things here, but Nathan says it sounds like it came from the methods that he mentioned. Definitely, definitely could be true. Um, he also
Yeah, I
says
think there's
judo
a lot of crossover, between the different systems and styles over the years.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And I think there's been a
Um,
lot of mixing of the arts. If you think back to the days of like Bruce Lee, right? How many different arts, did he pull from? Boxing, he had his Wing Chun. Um, there's just so many different arts that he pulled from.
nice. Yeah,
I
that's
know Billy Blanks, back in the day, Billy Blanks was another one that kind of did that same thing. He learned multiple arts. I know he actually trained with our instructor to work on his hand techniques with the Hungar way back in the day.
mm,
And he was a really good fighter too. He was a point fighter. He actually fought on I believe it was the team Budweiser team, or they were sponsored by Budweiser at the time. I remember seeing him in a full contact fight do a cartwheel kick and actually landed it. And this is way back,
hmm.
before people were doing that kind of stuff. It was crazy, but he was a good fighter. I know he takes a beating because of the Thai bow stuff, but he was a really good fighter.
Oh yeah, I could totally believe that. And yeah, I mean, you talk about mixing stuff. I mean, you look at even the Taekwondo that we teach today. It's very traditional, but there's been some stuff, over the last 2, 3 decades that have incorporated itself into our program that maybe a little bit is taken from, excuse me, boxing, a little bit from jujitsu, a little bit from Kali, little, just things that we find super effective and super important for our students to know. And, um, it's just kind of eased its way into the, you know, curriculum and some of the things that the students are learning. So, I mean, and they may not even realize that they're learning different, they are learning primarily Taekwondo in our Taekwondo program, but some of it is, there's some other martial arts that have been put into there as well.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, percentages too. Use techniques in self defense that have a high percentage of success. And I was talking to a gentleman, him and his two children trained jujitsu with us at one of our academies here. And I was talking to him, and his kids had done a little bit of taekwondo at another academy. And he said they don't do any self defense at all. And I was just blown away because that's something that we always have taught in taekwondo. So I guess every system is a little bit different. I think they're more focused on Olympic style taekwondo where they really don't use their hands as much. So
Mm,
you have your differences of taekwondo because I know nowadays you say taekwondo and you can see people cringe sometimes. They automatically think Olympic style taekwondo because that's what they see in the forefront and on YouTube and stuff with Olympic trials where there isn't that hand work. There's no handwork. It's almost all kicking if you look at it. But
hmm.
not every Taekwondo school is like that. I know I've always taught self defense. It's the reason I got into martial arts. So it's something that's always been prevalent in our program for Taekwondo.
Yeah, I've always taught martial art or Taekwondo, that is, with self-defense. Um, and especially with some of those hip injuries and lack of flexibility, I just kind of took to punching more, in my martial arts career. I always did love to kick. I haven't kicked as much in the last few years due to some injuries, but um, that's so the students therefore get a lot more handwork than maybe other taekwondo schools that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. And if you think about, from a self-defense perspective in general, if you're in close, you can't really kick anyways. I mean, maybe knee strikes, but as far as
Yeah,
kicking without distancing yourself, you're not going to be throwing kicks. And self-defense, I mean, you really shouldn't be throwing kicks that high anyways. You should be throwing low, so leg kicks maybe, but you still have to have the distance to do that.
that's my specialty, kicking low. Uh, Methods are context bound. Yep, absolutely there, Nathan. Um, so next week, everybody, that's our last one for today. Next week, we're going to be looking at wrestling. I'll have a lot to talk about there. That's a good one. Valley Tudo, that's another great one.
Hmm.
Rough and Tumble, I've never heard of that one.
Rough and tumble. Is that a kids daycare program? What
I
is that?
don't know. I don't know. I've never heard about that one. I've heard it's called ninjutsu or ninjutsu.
Oh,
Um,
ninjutsu. Okay.
Yep, I've heard that one talked about so much. Yet I've never met anyone or seen anyone practice. Um, and then Krav Maga,
Ah, there you go.
which I think Maui and Laban, though, or at least Maui, she'll be excited about that one. I know she practices Krav Maga as well. So I want to get into those, but we'll save that for
Yeah,
next
for
week.
sure. Nathan, have you had the opportunity to meet Billy Blanks? I never had the opportunity to actually meet him. He did train with one of my instructors for a while, but I never had the opportunity to meet him.
Yeah, I never did as well. I did always grow up as a kid seeing him do his Taibo kickboxing videos. So um, I never got to watch him fight though. Did you ever watch him fight or spar?
I did. Yeah, I seen
Yeah.
him. I'm trying to remember where it was. It was at a tournament, and he was doing. I don't know if it was an exhibition. I think it was a team event actually, and it may have been with Team Budweiser actually. But I never got to meet him. I got to see. I never got to meet, and either was Bolo Young that was in Bloodsport. He was at one of the tournaments I was at. I think it was in the early 90s, if I remember correct. And it was, I think they were doing some filming for a movie that he was going to be in. And they were just doing some, just some screenshots and photography for a specific movie to get some background stuff.
Mm,
Um, yeah, but
interesting.
I never met him. One of the girls that I trained with, her dad owned an academy and she's really good. She ended up in some B level movies. She actually was in a movie that Billy Blanks was in, and I can't remember the name of it to save my life. It was just a kind of a low level B movie at the time.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. So next week we'll dive into our last five um, martial arts. Do you have anything to add to? That was a good conversation today. I love getting on and chatting martial arts with you guys and just kind of going through personal experiences and stories and learning some new stuff along the way. Um, do you have any final thoughts on any of the martial arts we talked about today?
No, not really. No, I'm looking forward to next week. And Nathan, thanks for joining us today. Picked up some good nuggets from you too. It's great to have another old timer on here and has been around the arts. So um, thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and hopefully we'll see you next week as well.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in and catch us tomorrow. Let's see, today's Tuesday, right? So tomorrow, if you want to join us on our live stream, we talk about a little bit of Upland and our UFC and NFL pick'ems, and so we just kind of hang out in the morning and chat about that, and then our Thursday live stream as well. We do a bunch of giveaways and things like that. So we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah, and for any of you guys that are in Upland that are on right now, make sure to check out the Creedmoor. There's the auction going on for the fundraiser for the Creedmoor event. So definitely check that out in Discord. So But everybody have a good day. We'll look forward to seeing you back either next week for the martial arts or Wednesday or Thursday this week. So everybody have a great day.
All right, see you guys.